Long live Dante. Yes. Oh yeah, sorry. I was leaning over talking to my wife. She's going to head to the store and pick up some waxing strips. Because courtesy laugh. What have you done? What did you do? Hey, that I have to refresh the page. A random bean boozle. The gross ones. Okay. But she's going to go get some wax strips to for another incentive that we came up with. For a $25 dono, I will do a single wax strip of my legs, which are extremely hairy. But here's the spinner. We did one earlier and we got the buttered popcorn, luckily. So these have the chance of being either a good flavor or a gross flavor. So. Oh, that wasn't an actual spin. Hold on. Come on, spin, damn it. Here we go. All right. We got either birthday cake or dirty dishwasher. Let's see. Trying to figure out which one. I think it's these. Like it's got a little indicator, and you have to go by the color to find which one it is. And I think this is the right one. So this is either birthday cake or dirty dishwater. Dirty dishwater. Whose idea was this? Oh. It was Ego's. Ego, you're fired. Okay, maybe when you have dirty dishwater flavor in your mouth, don't drink water. The bean boozled jelly beans were your idea, apparently. Oh God, that is gross. White monster is the best monster, but we need more. Oh. Oh. Ugh. Oh my God, that is horrible. I need something stronger than Monster to wash that taste out. Oh Christ. Rada, thank you for the follow. Pocket Coaster as well, if I can't remember. Thank you. And we had just had a anonymous $50 dono for the Keeds. Whoever that was, thank you. And that puts us at 155. Oh my God, that is disgusting. Oh my God. Please give me something else to wash this taste out of my mouth. Anything. Oh, fudge. Bye-bye mustache soon. Yes, and we will do it on stream. Yeah, the white monster are the best monsters. Although I am a fan of the zero sugar green ones, the paradise one. They taste like tropical Skittles, which would be fantastic right now. What is this? What are high chews? Starburst? Okay. Anything's better than dishwasher water. I don't care. It could be coconut right now. I don't care. I hate coconut. We're going to leave those over here. Oh my God. Whoever that $50 dono was, thank you so much. But the Bean Boozled, the gross ones, you have the chance at pomegranate or old bandage, tutti frutti or stinky socks, peach or barf, birthday cake or dirty dishwasher water, berry blue or toothpaste. I don't think that one would be too bad. Strawberry banana smoothie or dead fish, juicy pear or booger, buttered popcorn or rotten egg. We got the buttered popcorn earlier. Cappuccino or liver and onions, toasted marshmallow or stink bug, pomegranate or old bandage. Oh, we already read that one. So yeah. Yeah, old bandage. I imagine it's like Band-Aids, like a used Band-Aid. Yeah, spoiled. If we had the spoiled milk one, I might have to. That would make me puke. Mm. How you doing, Iridian? Like back in the day, back before we had like all the zero sugar ones, we just had like standard monsters. I would drink the OG one, the green and the black, green logo and black can, and also the Assault. But there was one that was like made with juice, and it was like pineapple juice. And that was really good. And can't remember what it was called though. How are we doing? I'm doing good, and with momentary bouts of not so good. That was Monster M80. I don't think it was. I'm gonna remember M80. Let's see. Why am I even looking at this? Like, I doubt it's even still the same, but I think it, if anything, it was this one. The Chaotic. That sounds familiar. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, this was the OG one, 2005. So yeah, this is what I really liked. Chaotic. Apparently they still have Chaotic, so try it, Ego. Okay, the high chews are good at getting rid of the taste of black bath or dirty dishwater. So for future reference, if you ever need to get that taste out of your mouth, high chews or Starburst. Oh, there's tons of monster flavors. All right.
Prepare to fight to the
Oh, we're actually gonna fight her now?
We won't let that happen.
Shut your filthy mouth, scum.
Make me.
Ooh.
One of the sweetest
Oh God, I burped it. It was dirty dishwater.
Over your broken and humiliated enemy. You want to deny me that pleasure?
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, I can't do the regular monsters anymore either, because I've gotten so used to the zero sugar ones. but it's like gut rot. It like burns a hole in my stomach. Angel Mythic Path. Your victory celebrations are a little premature, demon. Echoing the holy flame erupting from your hand, the light also gets brighter and brighter until it floods the chamber. You hear the voices again, stronger now. They repeat your words like a choir of angels. You performed a good action.
Hey, No Eyes! Didn't you tell us that heaven had turned its back on us and no one would come
No
to
Eyes.
our aid?
Don't listen to her. The fiend wants us to lose all hope. She won't succeed.
I'm done with this shit!
Amen,
I
brother.
followed this hoofed menace because I thought the Crusaders had it, and there was no other way to protect my family. But now I see that there is hope. I won't bow before these heinous idols ever again. If they kill me, at least I'll die a decent death.
Yes! Return to our side, friends! Have courage! We will welcome you back, and heaven never abandoned you, no matter what this deceiver told you.
Turncoat, I'll cut out your heart.
We'll see how tough you really are. We let you frighten us once,
Ah.
but it won't happen.
Still
again.
taste it.
First come, first served. I got this.
You get her, Co. Ow.
You've crossed the wrong mongrel.
Nice hit.
Go for their hearts!
No glory without risk!
Ooh, damn.
Damn you!
God, I still taste dirty dishwater. It's like on the roof of my mouth.
You won't survive me.
I'll cut you wide open!
The Inheritor, guide my blade!
Oh, shit, son.
Getting my ass kicked.
That's it. I'm tired of playing around now. You wanted
Need to wash it down with another one?
I'm done with the ward stone. Here's a little demonstration.
What have you done? Luckily, we don't have a spoiled milk one. Thankfully. The demoness whispers a spell and a wave of darkness sweeps through the chamber. Your companions wince in pain, but it's nothing compared to what you feel. Thousands of voices once again burst into your mind, drowning you in their moans, screams, and sobs. Pain rocks through your skull. Your evil spells won't stop a righteous army.
Iomade is with us!
Yes, yes. Keep telling yourself that.
The roar of voices blends into an unbearable wall of screaming. Your vision goes dark. Or some canned dog food. You really are the devil, aren't you?
Praise Iomade, you woke up. Healing your wounds was easy, but you were unconscious for so long, I was starting to worry we'd lost you.
What happened?
We couldn't stand up to the demoness. Her spells were too strong. It's all right. We'll handle it somehow. You blacked out, but Staunton and I managed to get you here to the Defender's Heart. It used to be a tavern, but now it's our headquarters. We're gathering our forces here, and we're preparing to strike back.
Found a cultist dispatch in the dungeons. Seems they're holed up in the Tower of Estrad.
Demons have been filling Kenabres with their spies and infiltrators for a long time. Unfortunately, I don't have enough people to attack the place right now.
I do.
At least not blindly. I'd be grateful if you snuck in there and scouted out the situation. But just scouting. Don't be a hero.
But I am a hero. Whose breath tastes like dirty dishwater. What's the situation in the city?
Bad, but not hopeless. We're constantly getting news, and new sources of resistance keep springing up in the districts where everyone seemed to be dead. The survivors are gathering here. You should see them. Their faces, their eyes burning with determination. The city is destroyed, but our resistance is not broken. We will keep fighting.
What do you plan to do next?
You heard what the demon said. They're going to desecrate the Wardstone and blow up the whole barrier around the world.
Here, hon, come give us a kiss.
That would be an even worse disaster than the World Wound's expansion before the Second Crusade. Not only Kenabres, but every city with a Wardstone will be destroyed, including the capital.
I'm not stupid.
We can't allow that no matter what. We will retake it.
You married
even
me twice.
destroy
You are
it if we
stupid.
must. Iomade's gift must not become a weapon of the abyss.
Apparently not, because you married me twice.
I learned from mistakes. Therefore, I'm not going to do that.
If you learned from your mistake, then you would. That means that divorcing me in the first place was a mistake, because you did the same thing again. Twice? Yes, we've been married to each other twice. We're both gluttons for punishment. Obviously, she says. We got married when we were very young. Had a kid. She was pregnant 3 months after we got married. And had a kid very young. We were young and stupid. Huh?
Apparently now we're just old.
Now we're just old and stupid. Don't learn from our mistakes.
Speaking of learning from mistakes, I'll be back.
Mm-hmm. But we got divorced. Both remarried other people. Got divorced from them. And then we got back together and have been torturing each other ever since. As she goes out the door to go to the store to get waxing strips for my legs for the charity. Because we're going to add a new incentive for $25. You'll be back shortly. Tell me about the Wardstone. Why is it so important?
The Wardstones are a gift of Iomade.
And that kid was the best thing that ever happened to me, says R34, which is my future son-in-law.
The Wardstones keep the World Wound from expanding.
Marrying
They
said
stand
kid.
along the border of the territory controlled by the demons, creating a barrier to keep them inside. The Kenabres obelisk was the first to be placed. It is the key to the whole barrier. We cannot leave it in the hands of those monsters from the abyss.
So R32 is like the oldest spawn. Is she there with a knife to your throat making you type this out? Because that sounds very on par with her. Actually, she's probably at work, isn't she? This is her plan all the time, to gain his trust back to wax his legs. I've done a wax strip on my legs once before with the second wife. She was bitching about like how painful it was to wax your legs. So I did one to prove that it wasn't so bad. Yeah, the hair never grew back. It's still bald there. So wax strips work. Can I help you in any way?
First of all, we need to decide what to do with the stone once we get it. What I'm about to say is classified. A traveler came to the city recently. A blind elf calling himself the Storyteller.
She thinks you're working.
He insisted he be allowed to examine the ward stone, and he raised the alarm when his study was
Oh, the
finished.
Storyteller's back.
Even before the demon attack,
Very
he found
nice.
some damage or flaw in the stone.
Hopefully the Storyteller is voice acted this time.
Prelate Hulrune dismissed his words as nonsense, borderline blasphemy. But between you and me, the prelate's opinion isn't worth much. I think the Storyteller knew what he was talking about. We could use his advice right now, if only we knew where he was.
We'll find him.
I remember the Storyteller spent a lot of time talking to Staunton, a dwarf from my unit. You saw him during the demon attack. The elf asked him about the history of the Crusades. Maybe the Storyteller told Staunton something about where we could find him if anything happened. There's another problem. After the attack, the demons began to gather their forces at the Grey Garrison. It'll be even harder to take them with a head-on assault. But I once heard soldiers talking about a secret entrance to the garrison. Trouble is, I have no idea where to look for it. While you explore the city, please keep your eyes open, in case you find something we can use. And
Okay.
one last thing. The Eagle Watch has lost a lot of soldiers recently. Some were killed, but others simply haven't been seen since the attack. In the chaos that is now Canabris, it's next to impossible to confirm anything for sure. One of the missing fighters is Janna Aldori,
Aldori.
a new recruit in the Watch. She got along well with Sela, and she often went drinking with her. I honestly thought Sela and Janna had died together. But now Sela's returned with you, and there's no sign of Janna. If you learn anything of her whereabouts when you're out in the city, please report back.
Everything is clear.
May the goddess help you. We're still fighting, which means that Canabris still hasn't fallen. If you come across any groups in the city that can fight, send them here to the Defender's Heart. We'll need every fighter we can muster for the final assault.
Okay.
Yes, one more thing. If you're in the area, check out this address. It's our house, mine and Anevia's. Well, it was our house. If the building is still standing, open the hidden compartment in the kitchen. It's filled with supplies for a rainy day. You can take whatever.
Well,
you
I'd say
find.
it's raining pretty hard right
You'll have
now.
more need of it.
All right, so I guess we finished the prologue. Okay. Right. Personal chest. Someone's a pet owl cat. And boots. Okay, so we have to find someone who can identify stuff. Hey, wait. Mind if I bend your ear about something? So here's the first and most important thing. Beth gave you a crucial mission. I get that. I know you'll get the job done. I saw you in action. But here's the rub. By sending you out on an errand, we're weakening our defenses here. If they come in us while you're gone, I don't know if we'll be able to fight them off. Everything seems clear so far. What do you wish to discuss? So the rift that damn beetle left with his scythe, yeah, well, it cut the city into two. And it's kind of difficult to get across. Oh, I burped another dishwater. Burp. My scouts tell me there's a halfway decent place to set up a crossing in Market Square. Not that any of them tried to make it sure. But if you got a mind to go across, then I think you're going to have to eventually. You might want to give the square a once over. Do you want me to stay here and guard the tavern? You what? No. Your task is far too important. You can't just hole up here all cozy like, waiting for the demons to knock on the door. We need to take the fight to them. But if those freaks try to make a move on this place, Beth will send a runner to get you. If that happens, you leg it back here, all right? Because if you don't, you'll be coming back to an ash pile. Got it? So when do you think the demons will attack next? Your guess is as good as mine. It might not be here. They could attack the city, attack the whole damn city. Those vermin know they've lost the upper hand and that we're going to push back hard. If things kick off here, you should know after the attack, some things could be changed beyond recognition. So if you've got any business that needs to be taken care of, you better do it soon. Thanks for the warning. Right. Oh, by the way, I was rummaging through my stash and I found something useful for my old life, so to speak. Here's a little gift from one rogue to another. It might come in handy. Scroll of invisibility and a potion of haste. Later, watch yourself out there. Nice. Tell me about yourself. Want to know more about me than you already do? Why? I talk to the spirits of this tormented land and they guide me in battle. I'll help you fight the demons, and I swear you can rely on me in this matter. Isn't that sufficient? Where'd you learn to wield a rapier so well? I had good teachers, although they don't get all the credit. I'm a most diligent student. Your amulet's quite unusual. Where did you get it? Ah, my little trinket. So nice of you to notice, but I assure you, this amulet is nothing but a bauble. Can a lady not be drawn to beautiful, useless things? Anyway, as much as I enjoy our delightful conversations, the spirits are calling me, and I must respond. Excuse me. Your speech tells me you're of noble birth. You're most insightful, a fine quality to have. Still, I believe that being of noble birth does not give anyone the right to look down on others. Is that so? Well, thank you for sharing your opinion with me. Hey, here, take this. Yes, it's 2,000 coins. Take your payment and remember that Horace Worm always keeps his word. You helped me get back to the surface and I duly paid you for escorting me. Now, speaking of our future cooperation, I have a job that would be perfect for someone like you. Naturally, I pay generously for your service. What do you mean, a job for someone like me? For an adventurer ready to sell their soul for booze and then lie down drunk in the gutter. Or do you think you're somehow different? A traveling knight, perhaps, noble of heart, but without a coin to your name? You seem a reliable enough ally to me. You did get me out of those mongrel caves. So why should I care what you do with my money once you've got it? Noble birth doesn't give you the right to behave badly. I would ask that you refrain from such statements in the future. But really, how impotent. No one dare tells Horgus Worm how to address the rabble. So what does this job involve? You shall be my bodyguard. You see, I have good reason to return to my mansion here in Canabras. Still have, well, it doesn't matter. It's none of your business. My mansion is a breathtaking building with a large garden in the wealthy part of the city. Even before the demons attacked, every thief and fraudster in the city had tried to get inside, one way or another. I shudder to imagine the state it's in now. I have little hope that my guards were able to hold the mansion during the attack, and I expect the servants fled when they saw the demons. Only Abadar knows what's happened there since. Therefore, I should ask that you meet me at my mansion and guard me there until I complete my business. I already asked the local paladins for help. They have no desire to set foot outside this tavern. Damn cowards and traitors, that's what they are. Also, please take Camilla with you. I trust that girl more than the rest of your gang. She's of noble birth, after all. What kind of reward are we talking? 1,000 gold coins. Double the reward and I'll think about it. Ha. For that kind of money, I could hire Queen Galfrey herself to guard me. 1,000 is my final offer. Sure. Marvelous. Most excellent. I'll proceed to my mansion at once and wait for you there. Meanwhile, you needn't worry. I know the city like the back of my hand, but do hurry, unless you want me to lower your reward. The medallion you're wearing. That's a sacred symbol, isn't it? Are you a cleric of Kalen? I'm a tavern keeper. Best in the city. Best there's ever been. Gained 1 experience. And I pray to the best god there is. Who are you? Gemmel Hawks. Vampire. Are you really a vampire? No. How did you end up in the Crusader city? How did anyone end up here? How did you or them? The world is big. Still, there isn't a place for everyone. People who no longer have a life anywhere, they end up here. Any news in the city? There are demons everywhere and you showed up. He's not very verbose, is he? Are there any places in the city worth visiting? If you mean places that are normal people usually stay well away from, there are plenty, like the Pataxian wine cellar. Gemmel pauses for effect, like the name of the place alone should make you quiver in fear. Looks like his favorite joke is as follows. What's red and bad for your teeth? A brick. Yeah. Once belonged to a Pataxian trading house. Then King Iravetti came to power in Patax and property started changing hands. Soon after, the seller's shop assistant was found in a ditch. Not all of them. Mine, just his head. Numerian gangsters had taken possession of the place. They wanted to sell something stronger than wine on the street, and they ended up on the gallows. Then King Iravetti's number was up. So now the store stands empty and unclaimed. People say that a headless ghost wanders the place at night, moaning ghoulishly. Ooh. Just don't ask me how he makes any noise with no head. I wasn't there. I just tell it like I heard it. I see you're one not for talking. Gemmel gives you a long, mournful gay look and says nothing. Show me what you have. Sure you don't need the 26 daggers? I mean, no, I'm not sure, but they're heavy. Okay. Dark Omen. Okay. 13,000 gold. Bag of holding, yes. Lockpicks. Painted fowl. Oof. Okay, so we use this stuff to purify this stuff. Okay. Summons a pet owl cat. Nice. Does it have any dishwater for sale? Oh. To the basement. Surrender thy soul, Delvin. Ah, got you again. How many times today is that? Take your jokes and shove them, Tiefling. Easy there, Chief. Don't hit me. Hey, we leveled up. We'll save that for when we have the party. All right, give me just a moment. I need to go use the restroom, so give me one moment. All right, I'm back. Jesus. Can we thank Ego for that command as well? Interesting. All right, it's quick save.
Hey, Chief. Hey, Dreamboat, come over here.
Dreamboat.
I want to talk to you about something. Something really important.
Quit bothering the decent people in here, Woljif, or I'll knock your teeth out.
What's it to you, Delvin Dum-Dum? You were told to guard me, and I'm not stopping you. But no one told me I had to shut my trap.
Who are you?
Woljif. Woljif Jeffdo. I deal in useful things. I can get you whatever you want. Anything. But there's just one problem.
What do you want from me?
I'll lay it out for you. Simple job, 30 minutes tops. We go someplace, talk to someone, and in return, whatever you want, I'll get it for you. Some extra rations? No problem. Armor, weapons, scrolls, you name it. It's as good as yours. If you need my help with something, whistle and I'll be there. I'm handy enough with knives too, and even my magic know-how isn't too shabby.
Is he an arcane trickster?
What a load of guff. If you were good at magic, you wouldn't be stuck in here now, would you?
Fair point.
Don't you listen to him, Chief. He'd find fault with the Queen herself. I'll be useful to have in battle, and I'll sell whatever you want at a reasonable price. It's your lucky day. You won't meet another gem like me in Canabras.
So is he like a traveling merchant that like we can send him off to go sell stuff to? So we never have to worry about like going back to town to sell stuff? Why are you in chains?
Does it really matter? Don't get hung up on the past, Chief. Don't look to the future. Live in the here and now.
He was caught thieving.
So? Your shadow, what was that?
Get me out of here and I'll tell you. And don't worry, it's not contagious.
Can't help you. Why are you chained up in here? How can I free you?
That's easy. You know Irabeth? Feisty looking gal, always wears armor. You can't miss her. She's the meanest fighter in the whole city. When you see her, put in a good word for me, will ya? Tell her there's this guy Woljif locked up for no good reason in the Defender's Heart. Well, for the follies of his youth. And he really wants to get out on bail so he can keep up his good behavior and make a contribution to society. Got that? Will you do it?
Sure.
I knew I could count on you. Knew it the moment I laid eyes on you.
Okay. Aha. Give me that loot.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Born Autumn Haze. Give the shinies. Exactly. A tall, fragile-looking elf sits in front of you, eyes closed. He is pale as a ghost, his arm wrapped around a blood-stained bandage. You spot other bandages on his body, under his clothes. But even in such a miserable state, he manages to keep calm. I am Foreign Autumn Haze, at your service. Do you need help? Do not trouble yourself on my behalf. A local healer tended to me. Besides, I come from a resilient, hardy people. My body will endure both the wounds and the poison delivered through them. Who are you? My name is Foreign Autumn Haze. I've come here from Kaonin because I'm a hunter and all minions of evil are my quarry. I won't say more than that if you don't mind. We are strangers and of different races and cultures. I'd rather not tell you more than is necessary. Who wounded you? A sinner and an accomplice to demons. The quarry I'm hunting in this inhospitable place. I'm Drast. You can trust me. I might be able to help you. It would be impolite to refuse such a direct and friendly offer. Well, you're easy to convince. Who is your quarry here in Mendev? I was hunting a fugitive, a Descarite named of Kalesa. It pains me to admit that there are heinous malefactors such as her among my noble kind. I managed to catch up to her to Canabras, and I wounded her. Then demons appeared, and the city was engulfed in flames. I was injured in the battle that ensued, and couldn't free her soul from service to her dark master. I'm sorry for your misfortune. I hope things will turn out differently next time. There's no need for pity. Our ancient kind is blessed with great longevity. We gain a deeper understanding of the world than other races, and we learn our lessons better than anyone. That goes for learning from our mistakes as well. I'll survive, which means I'll be more prepared when we next meet. I'd like to know more about you. I won't hold anything back. Not who I am, why I made my way here, or who is it that I'm pursuing. Tell me more about yourself. Other people tend to believe that identity is the sum of a person's actions and the events that happen to them. For them, I am one of a long line of warriors in Kaonin, who, since his youth, has dedicated himself to hunting evil and injustice. For them, I am a successful and capable huntsman who has tracked down and slain a great many monsters. But I am an elf, and for me, my identity has a different meaning. It is shaped by the place where I was born, and that I love so deeply. I am shaped by what I find beautiful and what makes my heart quicken, by the fears that come to me in the dead of night, by the things I find so intolerable that at the sight of them, my very core darkens and fills with poison. Thus, to tell you who I am, I would require many days and much candor, which is more than you and I have at our disposal. Why did you choose to become a hunter of evil? Because I am the son of a noble and proud nation. We are sometimes criticized for our arrogance, but no one dares doubt our honor. When a crime is committed, we cannot turn a blind eye. If we were to abandon our obligation to oppose evil, if we were to surrender this obligation to other races, we would also relinquish our preeminence. Who's the quarry that brought you to Mendev? I was hunting a fugitive. A Descarite? Yeah. Sure. We'll help them. I thank you, but this is my mission, and I'm used to facing all manner of terrors on my own. I do appreciate your willingness to help. If you happen to meet Kalesa, take caution. She has turned many innocent souls to the path of evil, and darkness has rewarded her with many gifts. Her appearance alone will tell you that. It's warped. The agate skin, the malicious stare of her blood-red eyes, the bestial teeth. She's more monster than an elf at this point. You failed her knowledge check. Her skin is dark. Her hair is preternaturally white. Her red eyes can see perfectly in the dark, which to my dismay, I've come to know from experience. Her bright light causes her kind pain. I used an alchemical powder that explodes in a dazzling flash, and she cried as if I had stabbed her. Okay. Are you one of the Crusaders? Thank you for defending those of us whose talents lie off the battlefield. I am Jurna. Jurna? Servant of Aristil. Pleased to meet you. So she's a drow? Doesn't sound like a drow, but maybe. Sounds more like an albino. Drow typically don't have pale skin. Well, she said a gate. Here, let's Google that. Gate can be found in many shades: blue, red, purple, black, green, brown, pink, and more. So who the fuck knows? What are you doing? I only took my holy orders recently, so my god has only bestowed a little of his power on me yet. I'm sorry to say the number of wounded fighters in this tower is far beyond my power to heal, but there's a reason people say, have faith in the gods, but look to yourself first. I may not be able to help the wounded with magic, but I can at least cut up bandages. Are you from around here? No, I was just passing through Canabras. I was selling down that old man of ours. the Great Selin River to a river village by the name of Chili Creek. I happened to land in the city on the eve of the festival, and I'm ashamed to say that I decided to stay for a day to enjoy myself, but I ended up staying in the city longer than I bargained for. Chili Creek, where's that? It's a small fishing village. It's not even marked on some maps, but people do live there. What they don't have is a priest. They have no one to heal their wounds, no one to offer prayers for a good catch, no one to give their dead a dignified burial. The world wound is a stone's throw away, so I'll be setting sail for Chili Creek to serve my God and my people. Once we held Canabras, we're going there. If by the grace of the good gods we all survive this, you should come and visit me there sometime. You'll find the village here on the bank of the river. Hey. Aren't you young and inexperienced cleric, afraid to go to the border of the world wound? I won't lie, I am afraid, but what can I do? Those villagers are simple people. Every day of their short lives is spent doing hard, honest work. That's exactly the kind of life I want. Something simple, but meaningful. If I had centuries ahead of me, like elves do, might have spared some 50 years or so to travel around the world. Or maybe even 100, why not? But I don't have time to spare, so I want to spend my short life in the place where I'm needed most, even if it's dangerous, especially if it's dangerous. I could use a cleric. Era still knows I'd be glad to help you, but it's no use. My spells are depleted and I have no training in potions or scrolls. See this robe I'm cutting up for bandages? It's the second to last one. All right. There are so many people here. Let's go talk to Staunton. Oh, it's you. Good work back there. Okay, we knew they were... Well, they're not known for their good work. Oh, God. What?
We went with Glee and the pretty pink box.
We went with Glee in the pretty pink box.
Yes.
32 wax strips.
And the little pads. But we're going to throw away them.
Okay. So we need to make an incentive for that.
Yeah, I was going to go with Nair.
No, we're not doing Nair.
Oh, no, the Nair strips.
Oh, the Nair strips.
But they only had the facial ones. And I was like, no, go big or go home.
So we have 32 strips, so there. That'll be their limit.
So, and on the same vein, here's some Aleve.
Some Aleve? Yeah. Yeah, definitely need that. Let's go ahead and pregame that Aleve. Yes. All right, so we have the $25 incentive to do a wax strip on my legs. Need to edit that because it says of instead of on. And we'll change the Star Wars fan fiction to $5. What's up, Shinobi? How you doing? We are just updating and adding new incentives to the charity drive. And pre-gaming some Aleve, because I'm probably going to need it by the end of the day. How you doing, man? Name's Staunton Vane. If you've heard rumors about me, just so you know, everything people say about me is true. I need to talk to the elf who calls himself the Storyteller. Do you know where I can find him? The Storyteller. Strange old feller, that one. He used to sit with me for hours, asking about all sorts of things. He never offered judgment or comfort. He just listened. At first, I wanted him and his questions as far away from me as possible, but later I realized that talking to him did ease my burden a little. I hope he's alive and well. He's completely blind and feeble, too. So if he's alone in the city, well, you probably know what that means. I do know one place he might be. Look for him in the Black Wing, the library. Here, I'll show you where it is on the map. I don't know what use the library is to a blind elf, but he loved the place. He would sit there day and night. What do people say about you? They say I'm a traitor and as bad as a Rilu Vorlash, that I'm a disgrace even among the ranks of the condemned, that Queen Galfrey should never have spared me, that I belong on the gallows. Why do they hate you so much? You really don't know? I'm the reason why the Crusade forces are holed up in fortresses on the edge of the world wound. Instead of bringing the fights to the demons, we used to have a foothold in the wound, the mighty unassailable city of Dresden. We used to have it until it fell, and all because of my stupidity. I gave the enemy our main citadel. I was tried. They wanted to execute me, and rightly so, but the Queen intervened. Said that I should live and fight in order to undo what I had done. So that's how I live, decade after decade, fighting in the condemned. What's the condemned? The condemned is a military unit made up of petty criminals conscripted as disposable soldiers and frontline fodder. As you can see, I've fixed nothing, and I've earned no one's forgiveness. Are you going to spit in my face too? It wouldn't surprise me. You were given the chance to live, so live, and stop blaming others for what you've made of your life. Do you think you're the first to come with me with sermons? A whole city fell because of you? How is that possible? What do you mean, how? If you don't trust the word of a condemned, go ask somebody else, like my little brother, Joran. And if you still don't believe it, what's it to me? But if you're about to ask me to recount the story of my disgrace for the 1000th time, don't. Really don't have any friends? I couldn't have survived this long if I was completely alone. Joran, my little brother, he keeps me going. He's never abandoned me. Everyone else shies away from me like they might catch what I've got. Even fighters and the condemned console themselves by thinking, I got stripped of my rank, but at least I'm not Staunton. Damn. Commander Tirabade seems to be the only person in the whole army who remembers that I'm a soldier and not a drudge. She has no qualms about taking me into battle. She's had some mud flung at her in the past, or so I hear. That's why she tries to keep an open mind about people. It's no surprise that she's the only one to hold on to her sense of reason in this farce. So many years in the condemned. Surely you've paid your penance by now. That's not up for me to decide. My life is in the Queen's hands. The condemned isn't the worst part. All these years I've prayed to Torag for forgiveness. Countless times I've gone to his priest. Countless times I've kneeled before his altar. If only the father of Dwarvenkind would answer my prayers just once. Not to restore what I've lost, but just to tell me that I'm one of his children. But it seems he doesn't give a damn about me. What can I expect from mere mortals when my own God doesn't think I deserve redemption? I have to go. Go on then. Maybe we'll see each other again. Maybe. Oh, hey. See how they patched me up? Now I can run, jump, or dance a jig if I feel like it. Are there any suspicious places in the city I should pay attention to? There were a couple of spots I wanted to check out, but I didn't have time. If there really is a den of cultists there, it would be good if you could swoop in there and just bust some heads. You don't even need a search warrant. The first one is the Silken Thread. It's a funny little tailor shop that doesn't take any orders and never buys any fabric, but they always seem oh so busy. They're busy with something in there, all right, but sewing ain't. Second one is the alchemy shop, Topaz Solutions, and they trade in everything, not just healing potions. Judging by the ingredients they've been buying on the black market, there's something fishy about the alchemical rituals going down in that place. Tell me about yourself. Be happy to, but there's kind of nothing to tell. What's so interesting about me? Where are you from? Nowhere. I was blown by the wind and found in a cabbage patch. Sorry, it's an old habit of mine. I don't like blabbing about my past, but you saved my skin, so I guess I owe it to you. To not clown around, right? I'm from Nadal. Wouldn't wish my homeland on my worst enemy. You've heard of the place, I'm sure. Ruled by monsters that aren't alive nor dead. And the official religion is the cult of Zon Kuthon. I grew up in a slum, like a weed between the cobblestones. Didn't have a dad, but I had lots of aunts and uncles. My mom's cronies. No prize for guessing the kind of business she was involved in. Gave me a set of lockpicks as soon as I could hold a spoon. And while other kids were picking their noses, I was picking pockets. When I was 12, the monks of the Silent Shroud came for us. Creepy guys with their mouths sewn shut. They're the guards in Nishrosh. Mom gave me to her friends, and we hid in a secret temple of Desna. I never saw my mom again. I lay low in the temple for the next few years, keeping my head down. I washed floors, fetched water, listened to sermons. Funny thing, after a while I started liking Desna's teachings, but as soon as I was old enough, I was out of there. I left Nadal and got as far away as I could. Quite a ragtag group you've got here, from nobles to street thieves. Got that right. Only the best for you. What do you do if the knights and nobles fail to save the world? The lowlifes are our only hope. How did you meet Irabeth? I was bumming around Taimon a while back, doing this and that. Dresden temples sometimes gave me odd jobs. You know, sometimes they needed people with skills like mine. On the surface, it was fine, I guess. After Nadal, the freedom of the River Kingdom should have seemed like heaven. My chance to sit back and enjoy life, but I wasn't happy. There wasn't any joy in my new life. I was all alone. No one cared about me, and I didn't care about anybody either. I struggled to find a reason to drag myself out of bed every morning. Tying a stone around my neck and jumping into the nearest river started to look pretty appealing. One day, I was hired to follow some fellows who the local authorities suspected were Rasmirian spies. I was stupid. I made a rookie mistake and they caught me. It's like my body had already decided to do what my mind had been fighting. To finally put me out of my misery. Get someone else to kill me, since I didn't have the guts to do it myself. They grabbed me. I thought they'd gut me on the spot, but instead, they hogtied me and dragged me off. And just like an animal going off to the slaughter, my only thought was, let's get this over with. They brought me to their stinking cave, threw me on their altar, and I realized who it was. Kuthites from Nadal. They tracked me down after all these years, but I didn't care anymore. Wouldn't even cared if they'd eat me or whatever. We all gotta go sometime, right? So I was lying there staring at those knives pointed at me when fate rolled the dice and I hit the jackpot. Irabeth. There she was, storming into the cave. Picture it. I'm laying on an altar with all these knife-wielding maniacs around me, and suddenly Irabeth storms in. Thought it was Iomedae herself, fierce in her shining armor with gleaming sword raised. She made quick work of those scumbags, chopped them up just like that. Didn't even have time to blink. She untied me, and then she looked through the papers they had on the table, and she started swearing like a sailor. So much for Iomedae. How did you and Irabeth end up in Canabras? After almost becoming a human sacrifice, I knew I never wanted to leave Irabeth's side. Desna knows I fell for her instantly, and I fell hard. My misery was gone, and when Erebeth showed me what was in those papers, proof that the cultists had a nest in her home city, well, I offered to help without a second thought. She must have figured I couldn't wait to get my revenge on the cultists, but I didn't give a damn about them. It was her. I'd go anywhere with her, even on a crusade, or into the jaws of a dragon. But I took life in Canabras like a duck to water. I used to be an outcast wherever I went, but half the crusaders are the same. After all, who'd volunteer to tangle with demons on the edge of the abyss? You gotta be either a goody two-shoes with too much honor and free time, or a misfit with no life, out in the normal world with normal people. People come here to run away from their debts, their pasts, from themselves. So I fit right in. So what's it like living with Erebeth? It's like living. Without her, I wouldn't be. Seriously, if I were alone, I'd definitely be gone by now. Sure, sometimes we argue, can't deny that. Sometimes we bang our fists on the table and yell so loud that the walls shake. That's all about order business. But at home, well, I'll give you an example. I always wanted to move out of that broom closet we call a house and into somewhere cozier. It ain't like they take a vow of poverty at the Eagle Watch. But every month, somehow most of our spare money is spent on crusader business. Sure, I get mad about it, but it's part of why I love her so much. You know, Erebeth has that thing that matters most for a person, a purpose in life. She's always got a reason for whatever she's doing. Her whole life is a crusade, and I just drifted around like a leaf on the wind until Desna brought us together. Now she's the meaning of my life, so it really makes no difference if I live in a mansion or under a bush. Aww. What are your responsibilities in the Eagle Watch? Oh, Shinobi, how did your photo shoot go? The one that I think you weren't too excited about? Or was it you were being dragged to it by someone else? Nothing official. I'm not even a knight, you know. I just hang around. You sure you want to know the details? Catching traitors and spies and cultists is no walk in the park. It's a delicate job. Can't always do it within the letter of the law. What if you surprise some suspicious blighter with an official search? Everyone will know about it before long, starting with their cronies. Then again, sneaking into people's houses at night ain't exactly legal. Crusaders can't be doing stuff like that, can they? Well, I'm not exactly a knight. Alright, watch yourself.
Let's see what we can do.
Pink Eye? There's someone named Pink Eye. Indara. Hope this example clearly illustrates the difference between Jiska legionnaires from the last war and the Crusaders. The perfection of form and spirit they were imbued with during creation turned them into parts of a well-balanced war machine, not a ragtag bunch of individuals, but a united whole. Now tell me again, while I'm supposed to be impressed by your reckless assaults, why everyone is fighting for their ego and for the right to beat their peers to a swift but pointless heroic sacrifice. Some of the Crusaders grumble unhappily, but it's clear they are captivated by the woman's words. The only exception is a scraggly and disheveled halfling monk whose puffy black eyes give him away as a brawler and a troublemaker. He enthusiastically pushes forward and tries to engage, but one of his friends swiftly jabs him in the back with an elbow, making the poor fellow pause to catch his breath. Quietly listen to the discussion. If those gists of yours, or whatever, had come for us, we'd have their guts for garters. You think we never fought a mighty adversary before? The soldier's stern facade can't fully conceal his relish. He clearly plans to enjoy this confrontation. The Crusaders around him look upon their exotic opponent with a mixture of irritation and piqued interest. I would love to see you storm a 60-foot-tall walking castle shaped like a gigantic elephant that carries siege fortifications on its back. And I'll have you know, these fortifications were defended by Jiskin, priest craftsmen armed with demon-bound war machines. They use the enemies you cannot defeat as mindless weapons. The woman gives the people around her a triumphant look as she adjusts her hair with pointed nonchalance. Her voice takes on a lecturer's tone. You shouldn't argue with someone who happens to be the most authoritative researcher on the history of warfare 300 years before the foundation of Absalom. The lecture is over. Do my esteemed listeners have any question? Who are you? I'm Indara, a warrior, magus, and scholar of classical warfare from Grund. I admit that I'm mildly offended by the fact that my name is entirely unfamiliar with you, but I'm willing to accept that this is due to Avastan's isolation from the sophisticated culture of the world at large. You've come a long way to be here. I like to think myself as an inhabitant of Galarian, and I don't narrowly identify with any country in particular. Why did you come here? To witness a legendary war, the confrontation between denizens of a plane famous for its love of violence and the crusaders from every continent, united by the common goal of defending their home, an epic struggle of colossal proportions. That hasn't been particularly epic so far, truth be told. Pink eye. Maybe she just can't see it from here. The view will get way more epic if she stops hiding among us and takes a walk outside. The woman smirks contemptuously. She does not deem the monk's words worthy of comment. Looks like you know more about warfare than any of us. Looks like you know more about warfare than any of us. Oh, am I hearing things, or did someone finally acknowledge my competence in the art of warfare? Perhaps there's a sufficiently open-minded person among the Crusaders after all. I find myself pleasantly surprised. Why don't you join the Crusaders and show them how fighting should be done? No. I'm a historian, an analyst, a theorist. Do you know what these three words have in common? They describe a mortal woman who does not participate in the conflict upon which her thesis will be founded. But then again, I'll hardly be able to describe this mess as anything other than a feeble likeness of the last war of Jiska. The more dangerous the upcoming scuffle is, the more motivated we are to find clever and pretty words to justify not actually doing the fighting. What is this last war you mentioned? Last war of Jiska. Of course, a large-scale conflict that took place 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. It was a war against the Osirian, pharaoh of forgotten plagues, a war that ended the legendary Jiska Imperium, an epic struggle that became the most vibrant page in military history. Alas, all conflicts that followed were but a pale shadow. Including the one I'm witnessing here. Why do you find the last war so inspiring? Imagine legions of golems imbued with extraplanar spirits marching into battle. Imagine flying cities that swoop out of the clouds. Like terrifying monstrous birds of prey. To drop forces on top of enemy castles. Picture gigantic mechanisms powered by captive and very angry demons and devils. Imagine standing in the warpath of walking citadels, or having to cover your ears to block out the sound of cannons loaded with shrieking elementals. Finally, imagine the ultimate weapon that defeated the Jiska, the deadly Night Plague. This affliction was an attack dog, a trained epidemic, a tamed pestilence, striking only those who its master wanted to kill. Imagine all those terrors and understand that no flight of fancy can even come close to the horror of the nightmares that they made real. God damn it, Poochies. For the kids. All right, so that's our first $25 dono. So we have the wax strips here. What? Yes, we're waxing. Yeah. You gonna help me? So how does this work?
No.
This is one. There's not.
Just hold it up in your hand.
Yes.
I get a.
It smells nice.
Yeah, it does. Smell that.
I can smell it.
Warm it up.
Warm it up in your hands. Shouldn't I do this?
Sure.
I probably have warmer hands than you anyway.
From heart.
All right, so we've got Poochies, the future son-in-law,
Did he really?
that donated $25. So we do this new incentive where we wax a strip on my legs. So $25 per strip.
So, blow apart.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on your leg.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on there really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
help the show
I think I can handle the
the leg.
show the legs. Showing some thigh. Here. There we go. There's two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Now, go from the bottom
Mm-hmm.
and tear upward.
Has it been on there long enough? So yeah.
Yep, step 3. Now, showtime.
How long does it say to leave it on there for?
Okay.
Mm.
Put it on there. Put it
All right. So showtime.
on. Yes, quickly like a fearless tiger.
Swiftly, but then like a fearless tiger. That's what the directions say.
Grab the end of the strip that all your hair is growing forward. Hold the skin taut with your other hand and, parentheses, take a deep breath, swiftly, like the fearless
Do I hold
tiger
the
you
skin
are.
taut up here or down here?
Not down there. Pull
I mean, my skin's pretty taut as it is. Ready?
I'm ready.
You women are wusses. It's not bad. It stings, but it's not as bad as you women make it out to be.
Just so you know, it really did stay on.
My leg smells nice though.
Nice and smooth, pretty.
Yeah,
This-
nice and smooth.
Press Gammy, sponsored by Glee Body Wax.
Sponsored by Glee. Yeah.
Now we just put that one to the side for the next one.
Well, is it going to be okay to use the next? Because
It should be. Worst case scenario, you just
yeah, but then it just I have to cut the amount in half, like the quantity,
or I just buy another box.
or you just go buy another box. Reported for self-harm. Yeah, there's no harm there. There's no harm at all. You're joking.
We've gone through Mexican candy, the fiery bean boozled,
Honestly,
the regular bean boozled, and this is the self-harm?
I mean, They say it's not that hairy at all. I mean, it doesn't show up on camera
Because you're one pasty motherfucker.
because one, I'm a pasty motherfucker, as my wife puts it. So it kind of gets washed out. It kind of glows, and so it doesn't really. So the wife is going to use the other strip. So, and I have very fine hair. I'm so hairy you could use a grass cutter to drive over me.
What a ripoff.
No, you just suck. It worked for me. You waited too long and you didn't leave it on there long enough. But thank you, Poochies, for the kids. Did it update the goal there? I thought we were at 180 before that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Known to happen.
So there we go. Where were we? It does smell nice. What is the scent of this?
I don't know.
It smells like strawberries. Is that what it is? You've got the COVID nose. For up to 3 weeks of smoothness.
For us Italians, one.
Or for you Italians, one. So how do you know so much about the last war? I can say without false modesty, there is no more authoritative researcher on Galarian when it comes to the history of warfare 3,000 years before the foundation. I feel like we've already read that. Dedicated my whole life to this subject, and I personally visited old battlefields and studied the most mysterious and forbidden archives containing chronicles of ancient wars, sometimes risking my life in the process. I wonder if, like, behind the backside of my leg where the calf is, they would be more sensitive back there. Or the inner thigh. Saw a fallen sky city in the Shori Empire with my own eyes. I ripped out the control crystal from an exterminator class combat golem that guarded a Jistka laboratory with my own hands. These fingers held the glass flask that the servants of Pharaoh of Forgotten Plagues used to create the first generation of pestilence that devastated the Jistka Imperium. How do I know so much? I saw and touched everything that I'm telling you about. You're wrong to treat the Crusaders with such disdain. Allow me to explain. A debate. Ooh, I'll be happy to prove the current conflict can't hold a candle to the last war of Jistka. Very well. The last war of Jistka has waged using significantly greater number of troops. Both sides actively relied on reinforcements from the Allied planes, and their strategic planning was perfected through no fewer than 7 rounds of intensive design. None of the above applies to this war of yours. What race is what? My character? I am a Tiefling. You're talking to? I'm not sure. We don't have a portrait to go off of. I mean, she looks human. I think it's this person here. Compared to the Jiska, we are but stone-wielding kobolds. I would like to conclude my thesis with a few words of wise counsel from Dagon, an advisor to the Pharaoh of the Forgotten Plagues. I doubt you will comprehend the true genius of his statement, but here it is nonetheless. The gadfly sees the ox. The ox pays no heed to the gadfly. The crimson fever takes them both. The events of the past are shrouded in legend, but the fate of the world is being decided here and now. That's what you failed to grasp. Said he, standing in the middle of a dingy tavern. One mustn't overestimate the importance of current events for world history. So should Canabras fall, it will become yet another page in the chronicles of the world-wound conflict. Should it endure, it will be fortunate to earn any mention at all. The monk with a black eye stifles a giggle and looks like he wants to say something, but ultimately holds himself back. The principles of war are always the same. Weapons, causes, and resources may change, but the foundations remain immutable. Then why don't we study tactics by watching a couple of rock-wielding goblins fight over a dead rat? Pointed at the monk with a black eye. I think he has something to add. The halfling perks up, takes a deep breath, and bellows dramatically. Oh, enough. I was patient with you, the so-called expert, but I've got something to say. Firstly, screw you for disrespecting us and what we're doing because of some dusty old books. Secondly, I heard tales about the epic wars of old. And next, Tianzia and somewhere else. And each time they claimed it was for the slaughter, was a slaughter no future war could hold a candle to. So say the old farts, while honest soldiers like us get ready for the next battle, because we need to go out there and fight. So later, we too can say our war was the most legendary of all to young whippersnappers who won't be nearly as good as we were. Thirdly, you claim to know war, but do you really? You can wag your tongue, but can you actually fight? Or are we listening to an empty chatterbox that's read a few books but hasn't even been in a brawl? You can enter a barber's shop and run into a dozen such experts. Show us what you're worth so we can be sure there's something to respect. Indara is slightly taken aback and looks at the monk with obvious displeasure. I'm not going to compete with you in brutishness. Look for another pugilist if you wish to have the symmetry of your face restored. The warrior woman raises her chin and coldly gazes at the crowd of crusaders cheering and whooping for the monk. Looks like holding a scholarly debate in the godforsaken tavern was a mistake. Have you changed your mind about joining crusaders? I don't see the point. The crusaders appear to be quite confident in your skills. If nothing else, you presented your arguments to me with extreme confidence. Indara unbuckles her sword belt and hands you the weapon. This is a worthy blade. It will be of use not only for the strong, but also for the wise. This is where I bid you farewell. Before the end of the day, I was planning to observe how winged demons use pack tactics to drive their prey like herds of livestock. It's about time I got back to my research. The hint of a smile graces Indara's lips when she sees disappointment in the eyes of many crusaders around her. Stay safe. Pink Eye, the monk nudges you with an elbow, his friendly jab perhaps harder than intended due to his enthusiasm. Yet another egghead, full of theories but not sense. To understand war, you need to live it, take part in it, not gawk at it from the library. The monk takes off a pair of plate gauntlets and hands them to you. If you ever see this chatterbox sling muck at Crusaders again, use these to smack her across the face and tell her I said hi. So we got a power fist. Who gives out swords like that? Someone who will never use one. Lan, here for a chat. I've been waiting for you to come and see what strange beasts you've taken into your party. I'd like to know more about you. Let me guess, your first question is, can you wear a hat with your one horn? Am I right? You speak common much better than the rest of your tribe. Funnily enough, common isn't all that common underground. But your observation is correct. I used to live on the surface with my parents for a while. Had a chance to learn a couple things. The language and the fact that every peasant who sees my skelly mug screams, "Demon!" and runs away. I don't know if you're interested, but my mom wasn't from an underground tribe. She was a smuggler, the kind that used dungeons of Canabras to secretly move and store goods. One time, two gangs couldn't agree on how to share a prime cut, got into a fight, and the winners threw the losers down a hole, dead and living alike. What race is this guy? He's called a mongrel. They were, I think he's half elf or half tiefling and half something else. I have to see. We have to open the characters screen and maybe it'll tell us what race he actually is, or maybe it won't. My dad went to check the corpses, if the corpses had anything useful on them, and he found a girl from the surface, barely clinging to life. An incredible feeling sparked between them. Or maybe the girl just liked men with scales and a cat nose. That might be it. One way or another, he got her back on her feet, and he later even left his home caves. She left her smuggling behind, and they began an honest life together. I'm grabbing a cough drop. Maybe that'll help. That's the delightful story of how land came into the world. Next chapter, however. My family and I never stayed in one place for long. We lived sometimes on the surface, sometimes underground. We couldn't find a place to call home. Living in the caves was hard on my mom, and my dad's appearance raised too many questions in Mendev. They're at war against the demons, after all. In the end, my parents decided to stop making each other miserable and separated. My father and I returned to our tribe. I think the peasants screaming demon had something to do with it. Or maybe Dad just couldn't stand life without rat tail soup. I wouldn't rule out the possibility. Did you come with me so you could see the surface again? No, that wasn't it. I just don't have much patience for certain types of creatures. Demons, I mean. They want to destroy Canabras. I'll be on the side of the people they're attacking. Lan, you're my companion, and companions should trust each other. I'm counting on you to give me honest answers, not excuses. I guess you're right. I shouldn't have been so evasive. It's just that some things are hard to talk about. My family, for example. My birth, hell take me, turned out to be a great misfortune for my parents. All because I'm relatively healthy. I'm the best thing that can come from a marriage between a cave-dwelling mongrel and anyone from the surface. A healthy child with the right number of hands and feet, no apparent defects, no missing organs or other problems. They saw hope in me, so risked having more children. I thought it would somehow be all right. I could have had 4 brothers. The first was born 2 years after me and died 3 years later. He didn't have a nose. Nothing even remotely resembling one. He could only breathe through his mouth. Mouth breathers. My mom and dad were afraid to take their eyes off him for fear he'd choke and suffocate on something. But in the end, it was his weak heart that killed him. Then there was another pregnancy and birth. I pretended I was sleeping, but snuck out of my bedroom and listened under the door. All those hours, it was very strange. I never heard the newborn screaming. My mom moaning, yes. The priest praying. Then I dared open the door a little and looked inside. The priest stood there very pale. One of them was holding something, a small object that fit in his palm. He asked, "Do you know what this is?" And the other said, "I think it's a head." Please go on. Turns out that this time, Mom was expecting triplets. The first of the babies was born in pieces, and the two others didn't live long enough to draw their first breaths. About 3 weeks later, my father took me to the caves. He didn't want to leave. I could see it in his face. But I think my mom and he decided it together. The curse my people have carried since the First Crusade stood between them. Not to mention the 4 dead babies. And old age was rapidly taking its toll on my father. After we returned to the cave, he only lived another 4 years. So if you're asking why I decided to go up with you to the surface and join the Crusaders, well, the answer is I've always wanted to. I was afraid to leave my tribe, but it always haunted me that I'd die in a world where 4 crusades could go do nothing to stop the beast from the abyss, and the number of victims kept growing. Wanted to change that, or at least try to. And if changing things is too much to ask, then at least get a little revenge. The ones who were behind the world wound owe me that great debt. The lives of 4 brothers and all my mother's tears, my father's broken heart. It's a lot. So much that killing a couple of demons won't do it for me. I want to do something real, and I'm ready to pay any price. Call it my personal crusade if you like. I used to think that things would be better if I'd never been born. But now, I think I was born for this, to settle the score. Why didn't you go up and join the Crusaders before? Couldn't just abandon my tribe. I'm their best hunter. They'll have it much harder without me. But now that the demons have nearly destroyed Canabras, and the caves almost collapsed on our heads, sitting and waiting it out just wasn't an option anymore. Anyways, I'm more useful up here than I am down there. Plus, the chief let me go, which means my debt to the tribe has been paid. Would you like to find your mother? No. I don't want to meet her. Not because I feel any resentment. It's just that she's half-elf. She's barely got her first gray hair. And I'll be a ramshackle old man. She's buried enough children. There's no need to make her witness the death of another one. I hope you understand. I'm very sorry, truly. Well then, I'm very lucky. I met someone who not only helped me choose the right path, but is happy to listen to my whining. Your parents' love didn't survive the hardship. That doesn't mean the same thing will happen to you. What if you find true love, someone who won't leave you no matter what, and break my beloved's heart when I die in her arm 5 years later? That's a fine thing to do to the person you love. Then again, there's a chance I'll inspire some tragic bard to write a tearful ballad. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Mongrels have short lifespans, but you don't look like you're getting old or dying. How old are you? I'm as old as I look. No surprises there. But remember Soul? He's 10 years older than me. I remember him back when he was a fearless warrior, and day by day I watched him turn into an old man. Him and my father. It happens very quickly. First, you miss a shot because you don't see the target as clearly as you used to. I think it's because your eyes are tired. You tell yourself it'll get better tomorrow. Then you notice you're having trouble breathing, and climbing is harder than before. Your fingers stop bending. You have to tie your sword to your hand. Can't even put on your greaves without help. When you're washing your face in a stream, sometimes you catch sight of a gray-haired, wrinkled old man you don't recognize. And this goes on until one day you come across a cave beast and you realize you can't outrun it. My dad kept diaries, marking all the signs, and I saw it too. The last year, I had to help him get out of bed, help him dress, remind him to eat. Sometimes he forgot my name. I told him that we should have stayed on the surface, and he joked that dodging a goddess was behavior unworthy of a crusader. He meant Pharasma. Every morning, I wake up and check how I feel. There's no signs yet. Even so, I know I don't have much time. I need to do something useful before I forget why I came here. I want to talk about Windowag. Are you sure? All right. Tell me about your connection with her. Where do I start? We grew up together, trained together. She was the chief's daughter. She was groomed to be the best all her life, and then I came along. We were rivals, but we dragged each other out of tight spots too. I've always been drawn to grand heroic gestures, sometimes idiotic ones, whereas Windu liked to roam unexplored passages, finding new caves and making maps. She wanted to be a great huntress, the one who'd make it through the shield maze, but instead, it'd be better if she died. The death of a friend is painful, but watching a friend become a shadow of their former self is unbearable. She doesn't think she's a shadow of her former self. Of course. She thinks she did everything right. Because the second she starts to doubt herself, she'll have to face the truth. To admit she's just a cannibal that demons use as they wish. She wants to get stronger and stronger, but for what? I'll never understand what drives her. Were you just friends? Or were you more than that? Wow, you really don't pull your punches, do you? There was a time when I asked myself the same question. Windowag knew me better than anyone. She understood me better than anyone. She was the first girl I ever, but we never loved each other. Maybe I could have grown to love her, but it always seemed like she never understood what love was. Maybe she just wasn't capable of those kinds of feelings. All right. So can you wear a hat with your one horn? Sure I can, but certain designs don't suit me too well. Tell me about your people. All right, there's a lot of exposition here. Imagine that in the entire world, there's only a few hundred like you. There's not an inch of fertile ground anywhere. Nowhere to grow grain for bread, or cotton or linen for cloth. Your neighbors are beasts who want to eat you, or parasites who want to infect you with their larvae, and then eat you. And it's not that bad, because you can try to eat most of the things that are trying to eat you. Sometimes at the risk of getting poisoned, sometimes with almost no risk at all. In the worst years, there's not a single living thing anywhere to be found, predator or prey. That's when you eat mushroom soup. I'd say 3 times a day. But there was barely enough for once every 3 days. But life underground has its upsides. Pun intended. There's no risk of losing the roof over your head. There's no bad weather. Not counting the earthquakes, of course. Are you really the descendants of the first Crusaders? We're like demon spawn, aren't we? Sad but true. Without the demons, there would be no mongrels. It's the magic of the world wound that affected our ancestors, and we made their children the way they were. Like most in our tribe, Chief Soul fancies himself a descendant of the underground Crusaders. The ones our heroic ancestors left to guard the caves. I don't know if it's true or not. That angel came to our caves for a reason. Maybe he remembered us. Those were evil and dangerous times after the First Crusade. Hundreds of Crusaders began having children, and the babies were born with fangs and horns and warts that covered half their face. People didn't like the new look. The Inquisitors sure didn't. So So our ancestors fled persecution and made a home for themselves down there, under the ground. They probably intended to find a cure for their children and hoped to return in time, but it never happened. Instead, the World Wound's terrible legacy was passed down from generation to generation. Mongrel parents can only guess what their child would look like. Each of us is born with a new mutation. Many mutations are fatal. Down in the caves, we usually don't congratulate the family for the birth of a child until they turn at least 3. Most don't even get a name before that. There's no point. Damn. It hasn't been that long since the First Crusade. Why do you know so little about your ancestors? Our lives are much shorter than most uplanders. Up here, only a few generations pass. And many still live who remember the old Sarkoris as it stood untouched by the demons. Queen Galfred, for example. But where we live, mongrels start getting old much earlier than humans, much faster, and with more devastating consequences. Few live past 40, and fewer still live long enough to die of old age. Hunger, disease, and monsters from the deep are more effective killers than time. So for us, the story of the First Crusade is a legend that happened generations ago. There are no living witnesses. We have a tale of the wise and great ancestors who left us to stand guard in the catacombs. But in reality, I suspect they were desperate wretches who couldn't figure out how to dispel the demonic plague, and who were abandoned by their own kind. Do you have a way of telling night and day? You can't see the sun in your caves. Every mongrel settlement has a big gong, which we treat like a relic. The gong keeper hits it twice a day to mark the beginning and end. But this custom doesn't keep time very precisely. Every Mongol child has snuck up to the gong to strike it at the wrong time at least once, just out of pure mischief. Nothing can keep me away from it. Not even the fact that I have only one ear, which means it could take double the punishment once I was caught. So sometimes the wrong strikes get mixed in with the right ones, and the tribe can find itself jumping up to greet the morning in the middle of the night. The Mongol tribes fight each other. There were some skirmishes, and I've been forced to kill kinfolk before too. Fights often break out over food. We have laws in the caves, written and unwritten rules that we follow. We respect one another's right to live, but hunger, it can push a person over the edge. I've never, you can count on that, stolen someone else's kill. But I can understand those of my kin who tried. You hear your kids begging for food and not able to feed them is terrifying. You're the only member of the Nethholm tribe to call your people mongrels. Why is that? Because all of Galarian calls us that. I don't see the point of all this hemming and hawing over what we're called. Anyone who finds it offensive or takes issue with it can lead the charge against the name. No one's stopping them. Personally, I'm not going to pick a fight over something that's unimportant as a name. What do you think of life on the surface? Must be very different. Of course, as far as living conditions, the surface is definitely a better place to be. It's easier to get good food and water, not to mention build a house, and even grow a few things. In older, well-established settlements, you don't have to deal with anything scarier than rats or maybe foxes stealing chickens. As for the kind of lives you have, I heard a story about demon worshippers abducting a whole family and sacrificing them one by one while the others watched. There are some brave Crusader knights nearby, and they killed the villains and saved everyone. And I heard another story. A young blacksmith lost his arm in a fire. Couldn't work to feed his wife and baby. They tried their best and lived from hand to mouth. They were still destitute. In the end, the desperate blacksmith robbed a traveler one night on the road. But there were some brave Crusader knights nearby. They caught the robber and threw him in prison. Not long after, his wife smothered their baby and hanged herself. Up here, the same person can proudly say he's protecting the innocent from demons, and then look the other way while the same innocent starves just because they were born into a poor family. Queen Galfrey prolongs her life with sun orchid elixirs that cost enough to feed an entire city. Back in our caves, everyone is equally poor, and if one person starves, the whole tribe starves. We don't abandon our own in times of trouble. That's the power of a tribe. The laws of the surface are made so that some get everything and others get nothing. I might just be a naive fool from the caves, but I don't understand how it's possible to have so much more and share so much less. Anyway, look who I'm talking to. You must know life on the surface is much better than I do. Oh yes, I also have a few questions for our feckless aristocracy. But I guess they'll have to wait until we drive the demons back into the abyss and close the world wound. At the end of the day, the world is full of injustice, but it's also full of mad beasts ready to tear us to pieces. You said you were prepared to risk your life to do something meaningful. What exactly did you mean? To invent a new salad and have it named after me. Truth be told, I don't know. It would be much easier if all I really wanted to do was kill demons. Then a few more demons, then more demons after that. Good honest rage and no needless brooding. I think I actually envy the warriors who can live like that. But I can't. If life's taught me anything, it's that there's no easy choices. Dying a glorious death isn't enough. Some heroes of the Crusades did that and also saved entire settlements, erected the ward stones. Their actions kept the lands of Mendev safe for decades. That's what I want, for my dumb short life to have meant something. Think I have an exaggerated opinion of myself? Some scaly freak crawls out of the caves and wants to take control of the ward stones and flaunt Iomedes' banner? Any fool can charge at the front lines of the demonic armies and die there. But what good will that do? I want something meaningful, you know? Even if I have to pay the highest price. Especially if I have to pay it. There are plenty of worthier people who need to survive this war and tell everyone else what nutcases we were. Damn. It's kind of a sad story of his.
Here we go.
Loot. Sela. I'd like to know more about you. Of course. Where are you from? I'm a little bit from Geb, a little bit from Katapesh, but mostly from the Knights of Iomedes. I was accepted and began training at 14. I belong to their ranks more than I belong to any other place. You've come to Mendev by a long road, haven't you? Very long one. A traveler is expected to have amusing stories. Unfortunately, I only have 3 tales of any interest, and I'd like to save them for our next feast. Otherwise, I won't have anything to show for myself when it's time to start bragging. And that just won't do. Especially since I'll win the night with my cautionary tale of a battle with a chupacabra. What a feast it'll be. We'll talk when we celebrate our next victory. I like your attitude. We'll never overcome grief and misery without hope for the better and dreams of brighter days. What made you become a paladin of Iomedes? It's a serious question and a good one. You should ask it of your companions, but it's a long story. To start with, 12 years ago, I was nothing like the person I am now. I roamed the streets of Solku with other homeless orphans. I stole, I fought, I was a hired sword for a bit. Not the proper origin for a paladin, is it? Back then, Solku was a city of orphans, widows, and widowers. Gnolls decimated the city regularly. My parents were among the victims. People People there heard about the new deaths before they finished mourning their previous losses. One day, a group of knights of Iomede brought a glimmer of hope to the city. But while others saw them as saviors and protectors, I was busy pricing up their noble horses and their gleaming mithril armor, wondering just how much one of their pretty swords would fetch. A thief lives one day at a time, that's what they say. I was the type that never thought past the next job. Anyhow, I was able to sneak into a knight's camp and steal one of their mithril helms. And I was right there when a gnoll attacked the helm's owner. Esame was her name, and dealt a blow to her unprotected head. A gnoll like all the others, she'd fearlessly driven from the gates of Solku. That one blow was fatal. But who was really to blame for her death? The gnoll attacker or the young thief named Sela? Life is cruel and full of chaos. Sometimes survival just comes down to luck. So that's how you see it. I can accept that point of view. The story of my youth taught me anything. It's that we're all accountable for our actions. It's too easy to wave off responsibility if you use the cruelty of life as an excuse. But you're asking what brought me into the ranks of Iomede's warriors. We all choose the Paladin's path for our own reasons. Some are guided by a nobility of spirit, some by a desire to fight injustice. I became who I am through penance and a debt unpaid. The day Asami died, protecting my city, I wanted to kill myself for the terrible guilt I felt. But then I realized it wouldn't make the world any better, and decided that instead, I'd try to take her place. I'd become who she had been, and protect the innocence that she would no longer be able to protect. What are the principles that Paladins of Iomede follow? I'll tell you. I like to recite our code. Feels like I've said it 1,000 times, but it never gets old. There is strength in these words. I will learn the weight of my sword. Without my heart to guide it, it is worthless. My strength is not in my sword, but in my heart. If I lose my sword, I have lost a tool. If I betray my heart, I have died. I will have faith in the inheritor. I will channel her strength through my body. I will shine in her legion, and I will not tarnish her glory through base actions. I am the first into battle, and the last to leave it. I will not be taken prisoner by my free will. I will not surrender those under my command. I will never abandon a companion, though I will honor sacrifice freely given. I will guard the honor of my fellows, both thought and deed, and I will have faith in them. When in doubt, I may force my enemies to surrender, but I am responsible for their lives. I will never refuse a challenge from an equal. I will give honor to worthy enemies and contempt to the rest. I will suffer death before dishonor. I'll be temperate in my actions and moderate in my behavior. I will strive to emulate Amade's perfection. Thank you. Aldori is missing. Where should we look for her? Irabeth is worried about her fighters. I understand that. Wanted to look for Jenna myself, so I didn't distract you. But since you're in this too, I could use some help. Jenna and I met in Canabras a few days ago and just hit it off. Went drinking together. We went to that unforgettable celebration together too. But we got separated in the crowd. So we'd start looking from the main square. That's where I last saw her. Jenna's a good fighter, even if she's green. Couldn't have become an Outdoory otherwise. Hope that means she's alright. What do you think of what's going on in Canabras? It's complete chaos. It's lucky we're here to handle it, right? The way I talk bother you? I know I can seem blasé. Many good people in our protector Terendelev died here in Canabras. The Paladin of Imade is expected to be properly respectful and solemn, but I prefer to face my troubles with a smile and a bit of common sense. Grief is a weapon they'll use against you. It can undermine a warrior's spirit. It's better we hold off on grief until we've driven the last demon and cultist from the city. We want to win. We can't be mourning our deceased day and night. Plus, joy heals the soul. It's nice when you and your commander think alike. Is fighting demons all you want, or are you looking for something more? How about covering myself in glory and becoming the hero of 100 ballads? Or at least a dozen, if they're lively ones. Anyways, to be more serious, the area around the World Wound is the best place for a paladin who wishes to defend the weak and serve good. Being part of the crusade is rewarding enough for me. But there's something that worries me. I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing my brothers in arms, but the Eagle Watch and the other orders are focused on just one aim: war against the World Wound. That's why they can sometimes overlook the smaller things, ordinary misfortunes, you know. Always like being a wandering knight, because any moment I could get up and go help poor rat folk whose family had been kidnapped, or an old woman whose favorite dog had gone missing. So here's my answer. I don't have some big important goal, but I'd be happy to help those who need it. A little bit here and there. Okay. So, yeah, it just says mongrel as his race. There's a tiefling chained up in the defender's heart. What can you tell me about him? Woljuf is a petty thief from a gang of tieflings operating in Canabras. That's what we call him in this parts. Tried to rob a vendor of magical items recently. Unfortunately, we apprehended only one of them, and the rest managed to escape. We have nowhere else to keep him apart from Defender's Heart, but that's hardly a prison. Woljuf knows it too. He's been begging us for days to let him go free or have someone vouch for him. He's already asked you to put in a good word for him, hasn't he? If you want to recruit Woljuf and put him to good use, go ahead and take him off our guards' hands. We can ill afford to let soldiers spend their days watching over a meddling thief. Hope the tiefling proves useful. Okay. What's our main objective? You heard what the demon said. They're going to desecrate the wardstone and blow up the whole barrier around the World Wound. That would be an even worse disaster than the World Wound's expansion before the Second Crusade. Not only Canabras, but every city with a wardstone will be destroyed, including the capital. We can't allow that no matter what. We will retake it, even destroy it if we must. Ayumide's gift must not become a weapon of the abyss. What are the wordstones? They're our greatest treasure, the shield given to us by Ayumide herself. Imade, and placed in Canabras and other Mendevian cities and fortresses by her herald. The chain of wardstones forms a protective barrier that stops the expansion of the World Wound and keeps the demons from moving beyond its borders. I shudder to think what will happen if the barrier falls. Personal questions? Please, but I must warn you, there are some things I don't have the right to discuss. Where are you from? I was born in Canabras. I grew up on a farm just outside it. My way back home lay at the end of a long and winding road. It took me years of traveling through foreign lands before I came to where I've always belonged. How did you become a paladin? I don't much like to remember it. Believe it or not, the story of how I became a paladin is also a story how I failed to become a knight. My parents were crusaders. May their souls stand together in Imade's celestial army. When I was born, they retired from the war and started preparing me to continue their legacy. But my father was an orc. He'd be pressed to find a calmer, wiser, more pious servant of the goddess than he. But still, all his life, he was dogged by sideways looks and whispers. When I grew older and it was time for me to serve, I decided anywhere but Canabras. That's where my father had served loyally, and his only reward had been injustice. Besides, the witch hunters, led by the honorable prelate Holrun, stalked the city with a heavy hand. Who knows what they had done to a strange girl with green skin. Instead, I went to that smirk that looks more like a painful grimace crosses her face. You can laugh if you want, but I was young and foolish. I chose Last Wall of all places. You can imagine how well I was received in a country that's been battling orcs of the Belkzen since its foundation. There were many like me, but we were all treated as second-class citizens. To the locals, my green skin was worse than leper scabs. Even my brothers in faith kept their distance, and I took my vows, and the goddess granted me the powers of a paladin. But even then, not a single order would accept me into their ranks. I spent another 6 months knocking on doors before I realized the simple truth. I serve Imade, not these people. I don't have to prostrate myself before them, so I left as a paladin, but not a knight. I'm sure you can imagine what it's like. In most places, tieflings are despised even more than half-orcs. How did you come to join a knightly order? I left Last Wall and went traveling. The goddess guided me, and my path led me to where the atrocities were happening. I often fought in exchange for gold, but never for unworthy aims, of course. I wandered the river kingdoms for a few years, killing monsters and tracking down criminals. Sometimes I thought I was just wasting time, that my true place was in Canabras, but I pushed those thoughts away. I didn't even want to think about going back. But in the end, divine providence had brought me to my senses. Happened in Timon. I was tracking a gang of bandits, which my employers suspected was a cover for Rasmarian spies. I managed to find their lair, but inside I found something far more dangerous than spies, an unholy temple to Zon Kuthan. When I broke in there, the cultists were about to sacrifice someone, a person who was destined to become my wife, Nevia, but that's another story. After I cut down the cultists, I examined their papers and couldn't believe my eyes. A network of evil cults had spread through all of Avestan, including Mendev. Worse, the documents clearly showed that their allies, the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth, had infested my native Canabras, and were even among the ranks of the Paladins. After that, delaying my homecoming would be tantamount to desertion. Luckily, I was no longer alone. Nevia was eager to destroy the cultists as I was. That's what I like in both like and don't like about games like that. I can read the lore in the background for days. Yes. I mean, it gives the story more flavor if you know what you're fighting for and what other people are fighting for. You know? Nevia and I hurried to Canabras. We couldn't trust anyone. The papers indicated that the cultists had infiltrated everything. Luckily, I had some experience in investigation, and my beloved, she knew her way around working locks, telling people and trading information with the city's bottom feeders. Soon we defeated, alas, not the whole Hydra, but a few of its heads. You know who turned out to be the leader of the cultists? Commander of the Eagle's Watch. Can you imagine? While Prelate Holrun was chasing witches through the city, the enemy had infiltrated the very order responsible for internal security. The scandal reached the ears of the Queen. At first, she planned to disband the order in disgrace. Then she offered its command to me and put its salvation in my hands. Of course, there was one small catch. I wasn't a knight, but I was made a commander just the same, skipping the usual progression through the ranks. Can't imagine the followers of Zon Kuthan in an alliance with demon worshippers. Shouldn't they hate each other? They should, but Baphomet's minions are masters of deception. They manipulate Zon Kuthan's butchers as eagerly as Amade's knights. The cultists from that unholy temple didn't know the true face of their association, Canabras. We ourselves learned the truth much later, after getting to the bottom of their nest. How did the people of Canabras feel about your background? They tolerated it surprisingly well. I shouldn't have been so wary. Crusaders don't tend to be prejudiced as a rule. After all, heroes from all over the world, even from other continents, come here to fight the demons. Apparently, the people were only suspicious of full-blooded orcs. There are already many like me here, and we don't have any problems. Though the locals do have their superstitions. Mendev is as merciless as Last Wall. They just have different set of victims. I kept seeing those same sideways looks and scowls, hearing the familiar whispers. But where they once used to whisper behind my back and point at me, now they whisper in my ear and point to someone else. It's so strange to be on the other side of humiliation, to wipe the spit from your face and suddenly be invited to change position and spit at someone else. You must have figured out by now, I'm talking about tieflings. It's true there are many of them among the cultists and few among our crusaders. And our fighters do all they can to drive away those who would be our allies. People shun them, call them the Relu's spawn or worse. As if they chose to be born like that. I believe it's quite a feat to rise against the call of one's blood and join the forces of good. Still, most only see them as the enemy. I once saw a knight bleeding to death because he wouldn't let a tiefling priest touch his wound. Alas, I haven't been able to change this in all my time in Canabras. Maybe we shouldn't have been a tiefling. Perhaps you will. I hope your example will show others of your kind they are needed here. Perhaps looking at you, even some of the cultists will see that birth does not consign you to a life in the service of evil. Tell me about Nevia. Met in Timon as I was wandering aimlessly from one ordeal to another. We returned to Canabras together to expose the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth. The day the Queen knighted me was the second happiest day of my life. The first was the day of our wedding. But Nevia wasn't just my beloved. She's my staunchest ally. We share every victory and defeat. The best of me is alive thanks to her. Thank you for saving her back then, the day Canabras fell. Before her return, the only thing giving me the strength to protect the defender's heart was the hope that I'd see her again. We are in your debt. Tell me about the Eagle's Watch. It was a small order created to fight not only demons, but also the enemy within, to maintain the purity of the Paladin ranks, prevent heresy, and identify spies. And it failed miserably at that. The Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth infiltrated it and formed their nest within its ranks. After the Queen entrusted me with the leading in the order, Anevia and I practically built it from scratch. We got rid of dead weight, people who weren't committed, organized ways to transmit messages and orders safely. We introduced reliable ciphers. We found tacit allies around the city, from crusader orders to street beggars. This was my personal crusade to purge the city of the Templars who infested it. And I thought I was winning. I could feel it. We were close to driving the cultists out of Canabras. But, it's hard to admit, but those successes didn't count for much once the demons entered the city. On the contrary, if it wasn't for you, there wouldn't be a headquarters at the Defender's Heart. The cultists would have served up the city on a platter to the demons. Yes, that's true. It's a good thing we achieved something. Thank you. Okay. I think that might be everyone. Okay. So... still can't identify items. Or did we? No. Probably sells these excess items. Ooh, short sword. Not so sure, because that our knife fighting makes it so we would roll a 1d4 on our stake attack with anything other than small knives. Okay. What class are you? Monk Zen Archer. Okay. Okay, it's a quick save there. Go outside. Place has been sanctified. You can protect the area around it from the corruption of the abyss. To the basement area exit. Okay.
I can handle it.
Joran Vaughn. You know everyone in Canabras by sight. Well, not everyone, but I make it my business to know people who might need my services. A blacksmith's work isn't just at the anvil, you know. We got a few of your kind in the city. I'll be honest with you, you won't last long here. By hook or by crook, tieflings are the run of the city. Or run out of this city. Even if they be thrice blessed paladins, it's shameful. Are you Staunton Vaughn's brother? Yep. Where he goes, I go. That's how we've always done it, even before the world wound. I forge the armor, he goes into battle and breaks it. He brings it back to me, I repair it and make it better than before. Everything's changed since then, of course. But that part has stayed the same. I was Staunton to blame for the fall of Dresden. I've told this story so many times already. Well, telling it one more time won't kill me. Dresden was built after the First Crusade, back when it seemed like victory was ours for the taking, and that the demon invasion would soon be at an end. The population of old Sarkoris was thoroughly diminished, and many of them hoped to see their hard fighting repaid with a small plot of unclaimed land. Dresden was a fortress built on all our hopes, and on Mendev's ambitions, though you're not supposed to say that out loud. What a city it was, Drast. You can't even imagine. It was built by the finest engineers from the Five Kings Mountains. Queen Galfrey spared no expense. Dresden was meant to be the capital of the Crusade movement, a monument to its glory and beacon of hope for all of Galarian. Hey gamer, how you doing? Heroes were drawn there to seek fame and glory, and they came from all over. Taldor, Garund, Tianzia. I couldn't list them all. A relic known as the Black Sword of Valor was kept there. The banner had been carried into battle by Imade herself, back when she was still human. That banner protected the city and kept the demons from teleporting inside its walls. As long as the banner was in its place, Dresden was invincible, or so we thought. Doing well, doing well. We had some interesting charity incentive redemptions earlier. We had a buttered popcorn jelly bean. We had a dirty dishwater. We had a sriracha jelly bean. Although I'm not entirely sure I actually got sriracha. We had Mexican candy redemption. And we had a leg waxing redemption. Our first. So we've raised a total of $180 so far. So we're almost halfway to our halfway point. A quarter of our way to our total goal. Still, when I burp or hiccup, I sometimes can still taste the dirty dishwater jelly bean. How's the game? It's amazing so far. But then the world wound just suddenly expanded. The demons launched a new onslaught, and folks started saying it was time to declare the Second Crusade. Dresden was unassailable until one young officer was tempted by a beautiful woman. She convinced him that the banner should be hanging in the city and that its rightful place was on the battlefield. She whispered honeyed words about glory and valor and convinced them that he could be a hero as great as Imade herself. And the poor fool believed her. He rounded up some of his hot-headed friends and carried the battle banner outside the city gates on an unauthorized foray. The demons slaughtered them within seconds, but for some reason, the courageous ringleader was spared. A whole army teleported into Dresden. It was a bloodbath. As you can guess, that officer was called Staunton Vaughn, and the woman turned out to be a demon, not just any demon. It was Minago, that foul wretch. She's given us a lot of grief here in Canabras, too. Just don't ask me what I was doing while my brother was off having trysts with that beast, and why I didn't save him from his own stupidity. Who would have guessed it would end like this? I failed my brother, that's the truth. I blame myself every day, looking at his plight, so that's the story. So why do you have your forge here in the tavern yard? Wherever I am, that's where my forge is. A true master of any craft will always find the tools they need. I miss my old forge, of course. Now it's just a pile of charred stone and metal. But I still got my hands. That means I can work. Show radiance to Joran. Do you recognize this sword? Do I recognize it? Of course I do. I made it with my own hands. There's my brand, see? Oh, Yaniel. Things have been tough without you, but at least we've still got your sword. That's something. In battle, ordinary swords get blunted. They break. But sometimes a weapon can persevere or preserve. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm no authority on these things, but something like an echo of the deeds done with that weapon. Or more like the reflection of the wielder's soul. I don't know. I will say one thing. Take care of that sword. Yaniel may no longer be with us, but the demons will still remember it when they need to turn tail and run when they see radiance. The scabbard's all worn. We can't be having a fine sword like this be carried around in this tatty thing. I'll make you a new one if you like. If the city stands strong and we both survive, come see me again, and we'll have it ready. No charge. Show me your wares. Okay, so 50 cold iron units. A rugged helmet. It's a lot of gold. A living ram. That'll do for now. I'm going to give that to him. All right. Who is our nature checker? Her. All right, let's level up. Maybe toughness. Toughness is always a good one. Okay. Next. Let's see. With a long bow. I think we'll try to get toughness on everyone. New spells. A lot of new spells. Love it. Where are we? How do we get down here? All right. We need to go back to the basement and get the Tiefling.
Well, Chief, what do you got for me?
I talked to Irabeth. I've decided to make you part of my troop. We'll see how it goes.
You must be a smooth talker. Come on, Delvin. Get these bracelets of yours off me. I'm going free.
You're sure to regret this. This tiefling will fleece you for everything you've got. Mark my words.
You're a bitter little man, Delvin. Petty and mean. You can't even be happy for me, can you? I pity you. I'll leave you alone with your sad little soul. So long. And now, Chief, straight down to business. You see, I'm one of those guys that people around here call thieflings. We just call ourselves the family. After we knocked over that shop and I got stuck here in the Defender's Heart, a little bird told me that big sister Charisme wanted to see me. That she had some questions to ask me. You following?
Okay.
Now, she won't be asking me questions like, Woljif, how'd you manage to get out of this one? Or, Woljif, you're so thin, didn't they feed you? No, something serious has gone down, and I just know they want to try to pin something on me. I can feel it in my tail. So, I knew right away that I couldn't go alone. You turned up just in time, Chief. You don't need to do anything when we get there. Just stand behind me and look mean, and I'll handle the rest. Somehow. Let's go. I'll show you the way.
Tiefling's hideout. All right, so we have a new party member. Eldritch Scoundrel Scale. Eldritch Scoundrel. Okay. All right. I think we're ready to venture out for the first time. Defender's Heart. Oh, wow. Okay. To the Tiefling hideout. Fallen Horse. Check it out. Try to collect the reagents. Okay. Failed to sneak past the enemies. Prepared to fight.
Let me draw the first blood.
Okay.
Cover me, all right?
Jesus Christ.
The spirits demand your blood!
Into the fray!
Endure this!
Okay. No one back here, so this is probably the last guy.
Stab you or zap you? Why not both?
All right, you did nothing.
You are today's sacrifice!
Oh yeah, he's an Eldritch Scoundrel, so he can learn spells from scrolls.